you doing? Huh? Oh. I'm gonna go be a meta. Or what? A meta? A metahuman? I got meta powers now. No, you don't. Yeah, I do. Since when? Ooh, so last night I was watching online, there was a report that Lex Luthor, gave everybody these little bug things, exobytes. And, it gives people meta powers. So, I have meta powers now. Lex Luthor, the fictional villain from the DC universe, gave you meta powers. Yeah. And I'm gonna go outside and I'm gonna test out my meta powers. I'm gonna find out who I am. What are you wearing? Oh, this is my theme. I'm amalgam. Or what? I'm amalgam. You know, the game-based superhero? These are part of my meta powers. They're toys. Those are collectible items. They're not even real. That's the reason why this thing helps games from stream. But this is useful. That works. It's plastic. Are you saying I don't have meta powers? No. Now, go get changed. Your food's getting cold. Alright. Wait. If that's true, how are we having this conversation if there's only two of us? Psychotic snap? Yeah, alright, yeah, that's fair. Alright, cool. I'm gonna go brush my teeth. DC Universe Online. Here's a game that takes me back. DCUO released in January of 2011 for PC and PS3, November of 2013 for PS4, April of 2016 for Xbone, and August of 2019 for the Switch. Wait, it's on the Switch? Anyway, taking place in an alternate universe, what else is new when it comes to DC? DCUO lets you live out your dream of being a metahuman, whether you be hero or villain. But is this game still strong enough to contend after 11 years of existence? Let's take a looky-loo and decide. DCUO starts out with a questionably canonical metaverse where Lex Luthor does time shenanigan thieving to have exobytes, whatever they are, turn humans into metahumans in the past that he pinched from Brainiac in the future. What? Anyway, you are now in the character creator, and boy, this didn't age well. While graphically DCUO aged relatively roughly, and that's being nice, the amount of customization is robust to say the least. You can choose between hero or villain, and custom or mentored abilities. Mentored abilities are templates of some of DC's iconic characters. You can get bogged down with character creation that is really deep, and allows you to kind of play around with a litany of combinations to make your ideal metahuman. I created Demonic Savage, a villainous, brawling, electrified, flying, demon-like being with a flair for the metal aesthetic. My nickname for him is Grunty. There are some abilities and powers that need to be purchased in the cash shop, which sucks because I really wanted more of a Bane vibe for Grunty. The free options are more than enough to get a fairly unique metahuman out of DCUO, with choosing powers, weapons, movement styles, costumes, and much more. Once created, you go through the same tutorial from 2011. This is unfortunately common for many of the older MMOs, as there isn't much of a need to redesign the tutorial section of games, but it would be nice to have had something different, something new. Unfortunately, every new player will have to deal with Brainiac until you level and unlock content. The tutorial is competent in teaching you what you will be spending most of your time doing in the world, which is fighting. The tutorial teaches you your abilities, how to string together combos, blocking, dodging, and environmental interaction. It's not a bad tutorial, especially when the cameos start popping up. As a villain, Lex Luthor joins me in the fight against Brainiac, and we sweep the floor with him as to be expected. You are then teleported to your hub. Depending on who you choose as a mentor, you'll end up in either Metropolis or Gotham. All of the city hubs have the same layout, making it easy for players to navigate where to go, no matter which hub you're at, but it feels samey and gets played out quickly. Once you go out into the city, you get a feeling of a city in absolute panic. Citizens are running and screaming in some places, and totally chill in others until you start injecting them with something gross and mutates them into whatever horror is for the theme of the mission. Overall, this starting experience isn't bad, but it's lacking that something special that makes me want to be a nightmare in Metropolis. My want for immersion isn't being itched, even when I fly around and swoop down into a war zone. DCUO plays like an action brawler, which is dope, as it encourages you to definitely invest in your fighting style. As a brawler myself, heavy punches and kicks, double axe handle smashes, and gravity-defying uppercuts feel impactful enough for me to want to diversify my attacks. Your powers unlock as you level up. They're separate to your attack combos, but they feel more like flair or accents or accessories to your fighting style, adding more substance and depth. This is solid combat. It does get very repetitive, so don't be surprised if at some point you feel as though the game is getting boring. But this actually isn't bad. DCUO has a few different mission types to give you options during your time in the game. Mentor-based missions are exactly what they sound like. Your mentor sets the stage for your MSQ. Many of these missions will end with an instant conclusion to that part of the story before moving on. Freelance missions are just side missions to boost the leveling experience a bit and give you some healing drinks and source marks, which is currency you use to purchase various items like battle suits, which are just different types of icon suits that you would see. There are also dailies, bounties, challenges, duos, alerts, raids, and operations, so, all the same stuff you've played before. The UI is very clunky and a bit unresponsive at times when in menus. Everything feels like it occupies too much real estate on the screen. You can change the scale, but it doesn't feel like it fits, so you just kind of leave it as is and work around it. The minimap is far more of a friend than the world map, as the minimap feels more intuitive than the world map, to me at least. The inventory feels simple, which isn't a bad thing. It's laid out clear enough for what it is, but something with DC branding? This feels flat and uninspired, along with most of the UI in general. This is true function over fashion, and I can appreciate that, even if it is a bit bland. Leveling is actually pretty fast in DCUO, and spending points into your traits allows for the player to have some serious depth on how you want to build your character. Sure, you can start out brawling, but let's say you want to start using a rifle. Drop a point into rifles and equip one and see how your gameplay experience changes. Want to dive bomb into a fight? Drop a point into your movement tree and put a crater into the concrete. It's actually very deep and fun to spec. Didn't expect to say that about DCUO in 2022. Here's some rapid fire thoughts. The movement feels floaty but adequate. Load screens sometimes feel like DCUO is still incomplete on the development level. Voice acting is pretty great, with Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy reprising their roles as the Joker and Batman respectively, but the looping of canned lines can become very annoying to the point where you want to turn the sound off. And this is pretty big. There are still players actively playing, which is always nice to see. Combat is solid, which is not as dated as I thought it would be after years of not playing, but it's the standout redeeming factor for DCUO. But the rest of the game feels kind of mid. So, yeah. Thoughts? DCUO has many of the features of any other MMO, but there are some things that are worth noting. Let's talk leagues. Leagues are guilds in DCUO, but there's a catch. If you're a free player, you can't create a league. Only sub-players can create, invite, and manage leagues. You can join one as a free player, but that's really it. There's also instant player housing. Player housing is called your lair, and this is actually pretty lofty space to walk around in. You can craft and buy cosmetics for your lair, but you can also find collectibles that you can place in there too. There are a bunch of collectibles in DCUO, so for treasure hunters, this is a nice boon to have, as it's something to kill time with in the game. Here's where I get a bit sus about DCUO Online, as it does something similar to Neverwinter. The technical level cap in DCUO is 30, but it's more like a soft cap. After reaching max, the power creep just drops into your lap like a sack of bricks. Not so much of a power creep as much as, say, a power surprise. Vertical progression and gear score is flipped on like a light switch in DCUO at cap. Things start off with horizontal progression during your leveling experience, allowing you to complete a lot of missions and getting some gear along the way, but at cap, it's just a grind for the biggest numbers. Kind of a hard flip for players not used to such a change in progression. So the cash shop is the Daybreak shop, and that's a swamp in and of itself. So you know that this is going to be a pay-to-win shop. It's not as bad as Rift, but the greed is definitely there. And while I can understand there being powers and character customization options behind a paywall, I will never condone items that impact fair gameplay. The gameplay should be based upon skill, not just your stats. And being able to buy an item that increases your stats creates an unfair advantage. It also creates turmoil, and the whales will usually win. It's not the worst shop, but Daybreak isn't known for being wallet friendly. Buyer beware. DCUO in 2022. Should you come back? Yeah, at least for a time. I am a fan of brawlers, and this definitely feeds that niche. If you have the cash, your character can even be more unique than most. Sure, DCUO looks like dried boot leather, but it is still known for a little bit of charm, and it's a decent fix for a time. DCUO was in dire need of some serious updates, like for the UI, but there's a reason why this MMO has stood the test of time. Money, and the fact that Warner Brothers owns DC, so that's a thing. Ultimately, this is a good time for those needing a superhero fix. It ain't City of Heroes or Villains, but it's good enough. So are you coming back to DCUO? Let us know in the comments, and then go check out MMOBomb.com for news, interviews, giveaways, and podcasts in the realm of multiplayer. Stay safe, stay sick, and up and away!